Imagine you collapse on a crowded sidewalk. 50 people walk past. You'd think someone would stop. But the more people who see you fall, the less likely any single one of them is to help. That sounds backwards. But the real answer is far stranger than simple indifference. It has a name. Psychologists call it the bystander effect. And it was born from a murder that shocked a nation. In 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in New York City. News reports at the time claimed dozens of neighbors heard her cries and did nothing. The story, though later found to be partly exaggerated by the press, still asked a question nobody could shake. How could so many people witness suffering and stay silent? Two psychologists decided to find out, not through speculation, through experiment. Bibb Latané and John Darley designed a study in 1968 that would become one of the most cited in the history of psychology. They placed a single participant in a room, alone, speaking through an intercom to other supposed participants. In reality, those other voices were recordings. Partway through the conversation, one voice began to simulate a seizure, gasping, calling for help. When participants believed they were the only one who could hear the emergency, 85% rushed to help within a minute. But when participants believed 4 other people could also hear the same cries, that number dropped to 31%. Some never helped at all. Nothing about the emergency changed, only the number of people who seemed to be listening. Why would more witnesses mean less help? Latané and Darley identified 2 forces working together. The first is diffusion of responsibility. When you're the only witness, the full weight of the emergency rests on you alone. But when others are present, that weight quietly splits. Someone else will probably call for help. Someone else is probably more qualified. Your brain does this math in an instant, without you ever consciously deciding to look away. The second force is even stranger. It's called pluralistic ignorance. Picture a room full of people, each one glancing sideways at the others, trying to gauge how serious the situation really is. If everyone else looks calm, you assume it must not be an emergency. What you don't realize is that everyone else is doing the exact same calculation, watching you for the same cues. A room full of people can talk itself into believing nothing is wrong, each person's calm silence convincing everyone else to stay calm too. This wasn't a flaw unique to New Yorkers in 1964. Later studies replicated the effect in cities, small towns, laboratories, and even online across cultures and continents. The pattern held. Groups hesitate, individuals act. Why would a species that survives through cooperation develop a habit of freezing in a crowd? Look back far enough, and the logic starts to make a strange kind of sense. For most of human history, you lived in a small band, maybe 30 or 50 people, all of whom you knew personally. In that world, responsibility never diffused because everyone knew exactly who saw what, who owed what, who could be counted on. Reputation was survival currency. Failing to help someone in your own tribe carried consequences that followed you for life. Modern cities broke that system without your brain noticing. You now spend your days surrounded by strangers who will never know your name, never track your reputation, never remember your face. The social mechanism that once forced you to act, the fear of being seen failing to help, dissolves in a crowd of people who don't know you and never will. Anonymity is the ancient enemy of responsibility. Once researchers understood the mechanism, they discovered something hopeful. The bystander effect isn't a wall, it's a gap in information, and gaps can be closed. In real emergencies, the fix isn't hoping someone else steps up. It's making the responsibility impossible to diffuse. If you're ever the one who needs help in a crowd, look at one specific person. Point directly at them. Say what you need in plain, unmistakable words. You, in the blue jacket, call an ambulance now. In that instant, the entire psychological structure collapses. There is no more group to hide inside. There is only one person, uniquely responsible, exactly the way your ancestors would have understood responsibility all along. Modern training programs, from CPR courses to workplace safety seminars, now build this single insight into how they teach people to respond to emergencies. Naming a specific person breaks the freeze that decades of research keeps finding in crowds everywhere. So the next time you're part of a group and something feels wrong, remember what's actually happening beneath the surface. You are not naturally cold. You're not naturally indifferent. You are running an ancient program built for a world of 30 people who all knew your name, now trying to make sense of a world with millions of strangers who never will. 50 people walked past you on that sidewalk, and it wasn't because none of them cared. It was because all 50 were quietly waiting for someone else to be the one.